No child is the same, just like there are different trees in the forest. So in today's video, we're talking about how to identify your child's temperament from the age of 0 to 6 years. So if you're interested, please keep watching. So today I'm looking a bit weird because you are going to follow me and get ready with me, even though there's nothing much to get ready with because I might be looking the same before and after. I got some reviews asking me to throw more light on the easy, hard and difficult temperament. And I actually thought to myself that I don't want to just put out videos there and let it just be that I'm posting. I want to be sure that after everything you're like, this is really worth my time. So I thought of bringing out a new and a more approachable way to understand temperament in children. So we'll be talking about it.
Nobody can tame me.
I'm really considering if I would delete the previous video. So I would like you to also help me suggest in the comment box. Should I delete the old one, the previous one, or should I just make it a part 2? So I would like to hear your own contribution. Hi everyone, my name is Chidera Nwozo, aka Teach Mama. Yeah, because I believe there's an easy way to life, especially parenting. I film about lifestyle, spirituality and parenting. Just like I said earlier on, because my targeted audience are specifically young parents who are really passionate about training their children, parenting right, I've come up with more easier and approachable way in order to understand your child's temperament without feeling like you're studying for exam. Just chill, relax. I got you. One of the things you need to know about temperament is that temperament is an inborn trait. It is what your child was born with. Then secondly, you need to understand that temperament doesn't change but can be modified. Having the knowledge of your child's weakness or your child's strength and using a good parenting style can actually help your child become a better person. Okay, let's define temperament. Temperament is how your child behaves and how others perceive your child to be. Temperament is how your child behaves and how others perceive your child to be. In 5 minutes, define yourself. Okay, I believe you have written down what you feel you are or what you feel people think you are. That's the basic explanation of temperament. Before we talk about children's temperament, it is essential that you understand your own temperament because having the knowledge of your temperament helps you to parent this child well, helps you to know, okay, this is actually my fault, not my child. I think I'm seeing it in another direction. I think I need to see it in this way. So that is why it's important to understand your temperament. Then we have 3 temperament styles. We have the easygoing or flexible temperament. Then secondly, we have slow to warm temperament. Then thirdly, we have spirited. From my research, they said it's not good to use difficult. But because I've used it previously, the third one will be difficult temperament. This might not be the normal temperament, I'm sure you'll be expecting to hear choleric, sanguine, melancholy and choleric. But when it comes to children, using that 4 temperaments can actually be complicating and you might not understand your child. So that is why we're going to make use of these 3: the easy, the slow to warm and the difficult temperament. So we'll be using 9 checklists according to Dr. Stella Chess and Alexandra Thomas for you to understand where your child falls into. I realized that in the previous one I just did high and low, but in this particular one I'll be talking about each checklist using the easy, the slow to warm and the difficult temperament, so you understand where it falls into. The first one is activity level. In activity level, it talks about how active is your child in general. How active is your child? Like if it's a baby, there's some baby that when they're lying down, you don't even know that someone is lying down there. And there's some when they're lying down, they're making noise, especially when they're awake. They're making noise, they're shouting, they're kind of talking to themselves. It shows that this child is really active. Easy child has a normal activity and time to time can vary. The easy child sucks well, like in terms of breastfeeding, easily pick up. There are those kind of children that they're active in terms of learning how to crawl, from crawling, they start walking, even to sit down. The slow to warm child tend to have low activity level, unlike the easygoing child who is always active, and it can vary. Like when the child is hungry, you don't expect this child to be very active. The slow to warm child tend to spend more time sulking. They don't really pick up immediately to start crawling and walking, unlike the easygoing child. They are generally slow to activity. And we have the difficult child. The difficult or feisty child is at the extreme. So why we call them difficult children? Because in most of the checklists or the traits, they are very active. Either they are very, very active, or they are in the middle. So as we keep going, you understand what I'm saying. So the spirited child or the feisty child is very active. Like they're those kind of being like, oh my god, Junior, I don't know why I gave back to you, because they're very active. Then the second one is adaptability. It talks about how quick does this child adapt to new things. One, how it adapts to new environment, new places, ideas, expectations. Just basically how quickly do they adapt to things. So now, using the temperament, the easygoing child does not have issues in adapting. The slow to warm child, because they are usually withdrawn, they take more time to adapt to things, to adapt to places, to adapt to new things, and they take time. Then the feisty or spirited child needs more attention and more time. They have difficulty to adapt, or they might not adapt at all. So now, does it mean that they are bad? No. So just stick around with me, because in the next video I'll be talking about how to parent right despite the three temperaments. So subscribe if you have not subscribed, and keep watching. Just like this easygoing child quickly adapt to things, that is how he's likely to be influenced by peer pressure. So that is why it's very important to understand your child's temperament and know how to teach and coin this child to the best way that he will follow. So the third one is approach. So approach and adaptability kind of look the same, but they are not, because adaptability talks about how quickly do they adapt, but approach talks about what is their response to that which you are introducing. Maybe new environment, new people, new idea, new field. How is their response? For the easy child, the child has a good response to it. It might take him time, but he responds well. For instance, introducing other food apart from bread, you find out the first time the child will just struggle, eat one spoon, and next thing the child is eating it like, I know this food before. When it comes to people, the easy child is equally cheerful to embrace people because they are very curious. Then when it comes to slow to warm child is just, it will take him time, but he will respond. Have you ever been in a situation you're putting hand to carry a child and the child is just looking at you? Then at some time, maybe when you start talking with the family member, the child will allow you to carry him or her. So that is how it is for the slow to warm child. They take time to observe before they take on action. But then when we talk about the spirited child, the spirited or the difficult child tend to take time. These ones are those ones that will keep crying. They don't even want you to carry them. Then when it comes to food, for instance, spirited child takes much time. There are those kind of people that can even throw up or refuse to eat because they're trying to understand the process. And just like I said earlier, none of them is bad, but understanding it helps you train the child better. The next one we have is the distractibility. So in the distractibility, it talks about how easily is it for him to be distracted with noise, distracted even with negative feelings. When the child is sucking, for instance, there are some children that once you just make noise, they'll stop sucking breast and they'll start looking at you. Then equally, you can also use the distractibility to check how easy is it for you to distract this child from, maybe for instance, this child is crying and you start making noise, maybe put music. Naturally, with this child stop crying and start watching the music. Distractibility helps you to ascertain how easily is it for you to distract the child. So when we talk about the easygoing child have low distractibility level, in the sense that they have less chance to be distracted. For instance, especially when they're sulking, you want to distract them, they're just minding their business, concentrating on what they're doing. Then the slow to warm child can be in between. Sometimes are easily distracted and sometimes are just there. The spirited and the difficult child, they are easily distracted. They find it hard to concentrate, using that breast, suckling of breast, when a child is sucking and you distract the child. Those kind of children, they will not continue that thing, they will not suck that breast, but they will keep crying and make your life miserable. And even teaching them, trying to teach them basic things like ABCD, you find out that those kind of children, once someone passes, they are not understanding again. So number 5 is intensity. So intensity talks about the energy put into an emotion, that how passionate is this child, is the child overly dramatic or just responds to action. For instance, there are some children, you be the way they will be crying, they will be rolling, they will even start beating you back. Observe that one. There's some that when they'll just stay one place, it's just basically the energy they give back to what comes to them. For the easy child, they just respond normally to situations. And for the slow to warm child, mild reaction can from crying to just being on their own, going one side. Then for the spirited child, they tend to be overly dramatic. They will just start crying. Those kind of children, they can't stop crying until Jesus comes. So that's just it for the spirited child. Next one, number 6, is persistence. Persistence talks about the length at which the child remains in the activity. We discussed previously about distractibility. Now in this persistence is, okay, even if this child is distracted, ability for the child to return back to the activity, that is the level of persistency. Okay, another example is, I can remember when my nephew was learning how to crawl. We would drop something in front of him and he tried stretching out to get it. Then when you see he can't get it, as if in his mind he's thinking, let me strategize and plan how best to get this thing. He sits down and stretches his hand again in attempt to get what is in front of him. But on the other hand, there are some children that on that first attempt, the second attempt, they give up. No matter how you shake it, even in front of them, they are not interested. So this is a level of their persistency to activity. When we talk about the easygoing ones, it varies. It varies depending on the situation at hand. For instance, if the easygoing child is hungry or is tired, the child will not persist, so it varies. Then for the slow to warm child, less likely to continue. There are those ones that give up easily. Then the spirited child has high persistence towards things. Because of the high persistence nature, they tend to make good grades in school. Then the next one is quality of mood. It talks about the state of their mood on a normal basis. Is this child a happy child, or is this child always serious and with negative emotions? So when we talk about the easygoing child are those kind of children that have positive mood. They are very friendly, they are very happy. Then the slow to warm child tend to have either happy or sad mood. They are in the middle. Then talking about the difficult child tend to have negative emotion. They're very serious, they're displeased. I don't know whether you have met those kind of children that they act like adults even though they are still small, always minding their business, always reading novel at very tender age. They don't like playing. These are the difficult temperament children. So we're making progress, guys. Hope you are catching the revelation and drawing. So the next one is regularity. So when we talk about regularity, it talks about how predictable is this child's routine. There are some children from a very tender, even as babies, they have irregular sleeping, eating, and waking up habits. So, but some have a regular habit. For the easy temperament, this child have a regular eating habit and maintains it judiciously. Then for the slow to warm child, it varies. Sometimes they keep it, sometimes they fall out of it. So for the difficult child, they have very discomforting and sleeping pattern. They can be pricky eaters. Next one is sensory awareness. So in this sensory awareness, it talks about their sensitivity to pain, to touch, to taste, to temperature, to smell and sight. So how do they respond to pain? Some children cry vitally, some don't even cry, some just keep quiet. So it talks about their sensitivity, how sensitive is their nerve cell. There are some children that those pricky eaters, they test this one, but there are some they can eat all weather, they eat anything. Just basically their sensitivity generally. Easy temperament, they have low sensitivity to sensory stimulus and as such are not really disturbing. Any clothes goes, if they are feeling hot, they'll tell you and you remove it. Then for the slow to warm temperament, they're in between. They are somehow sensitive, they're sometimes not sensitive. For the spirited children, they have high sensitivity. Having talked about the 9 traits, and because I really want you to understand your child's temperament. So we'll be doing a rundown of each temperament. So let's start with the easy going temperament. Which one does your child fall under? If you really enjoyed and have identified your child's temperament, kindly show me love by liking, subscribing, and commenting. At least it will be an encouragement to me. Thank you for listening. If you watched to the end, thank you so much. Till we see again. Bye. Have high sensitivity. They have relatively inactivity. Hey, they are relatively